everyone and welcome to 77%. We are here in Dar Es Salaam, Tanzania, and we want to explore its colonial history and the Germans' role in all of this. But to refresh your history, we have the video. Kindly take a look.
Germany moved its colonial headquarters from Bagamoyo to the natural harbour of Dar es Salaam in 1891. Years before, a German imperialist called Karl Peters had set eyes on the East African coast in 1884. He signed the first so-called protection treaties with local leaders even before gaining the backing of then-Chancellor Otto von Bismarck. But the coastal elites and Zanzibari Sultan fought against Germany's imperial conquest. So in 1888, General Hermann von Wissmann was named Germany's imperial commissioner for East Africa, and he established the Schutztruppe, or protection force, which consisted of some German soldiers and officers but relied heavily on African mercenaries known as askaris. In the meantime, Karl Peters tried to expand German influence up to Uganda but failed. A deal with Britain followed. German East Africa would include Burundi and Rwanda, with the northern border slicing straight across Lake Victoria. Karl Peters, who governed in the Kilimanjaro region for some years, came to be known for barbaric cruelty because he hanged people arbitrarily and seemingly with pleasure. Wissmann's protection force used tremendous violence, hanging leaders publicly, raiding villages, and burning farmlands. Often, bones or skulls of victims were taken and shipped to Germany for eugenics research, which was deemed scientific at the time. The Maji-Maji War, in which several East African groups united and fought against the Germans, lasted from 1905 to 1907. It is estimated that 200,000 lives were lost and entire communities and areas were destroyed for generations to come. During German colonialism, locals were forced to build railways to assist mineral and crop extraction. A relatively small band of European administrators and colonialists controlled the East African colony, which never attracted many white settlers. German colonialism had had a devastating impact on the lives of most East Africans by the eve of World War I. Here, Allied Belgian and British forces fought against German Askari troops under Paul von Lettow-Vorbeck. The Askaris died nameless and in big numbers, as did the countless carriers and members of civil society from sickness and hunger. In 1919, German East Africa came under British mandate and was renamed Tanganyika. Rwanda and Burundi came under Belgian rule. All three territories gained independence in the early 1960s. But a lot of the wounds from German colonialism in East Africa remain unaddressed.
Hello everyone and welcome to 77% Special Debate. And today we are here in Tanzania, Dar es Salaam at the school campus together with student and historical experts. We want to explore how much the history, particularly colonial history, still matters today. To kick off this discussion, I'm posing this question to the students. When did you firstly learn that Tanzania, where we are today, was once colonized? Hello.
Hi,
What's your name?
my name is Esther Hitler.
When did you first time learn about that?
I learned the history of colonialism from my grandparents, my grandfather, and my grandmother. Actually, my grandfather acted being a chief in Mahangali and Kidugala region in Njombe, so I was actually more interested in learning more of the tactics and leadership skills he used.
What about you? What's your name?
Hi, I'm Iris. I learned about it when I was about to finish primary. I was kind of confused about the whole thing because I didn't really understand it fully because I was still a kid.
Wow, and in front of me, I see Remy. You are the cultural curator, yeah, and you work around Black and African history. And you was born in Tanzania, but later on grew up in Germany. How do you feel like to have like the rich knowledge around this history of two countries?
It's very interesting because I think like there's still a lot of gaps within both knowledge system, and I would like us to bring it more together to fill the gaps, but also, to learn from each other, to learn the facts, to learn the trauma, but also how we can grow together into a brighter future.
Thank you, Remy. We will get back to you. But here I have Halima. Halima, you are the historical researcher, but you are focusing more on women. What motivated you to focus on this topic?
Okay, so first of all, I'm a teacher, and I wouldn't call myself a historian, but although I do historical research so that I can write, because I'm also a writer. So we know there was Mkwawa, he did A, B, C, D, but do we know his emotions, his day-to-day activities, what he felt, what he went through, maybe personal relationship with his wife, with his kids? We don't know that because we learn them like fictional characters. So it was the two. I wanted to bring forth stories of women which are very much untold, basically, but I also wanted to bring out the stories that people can relate. They can see the mental processing of these people, and I was more attracted to resistance, stories of resistance, because most of that has men. We see men as saviors most of the time, and there is none, especially here in Tanzania. We know Africa, we have Angola, Queen Nzinga, and thanks to Hollywood, we now know about the women king, the Agoje from Nigeria, although I'm not sure about the historical facts there. But in Tanzania, we have zero knowledge of a woman as a general.
We actually discussed this same topic with the students in the school in Germany, and they recorded some questions for all of you guys. So come closer to me so that you can see the questions.
My question for you guys is whether you guys learn about colonialism in class or how much more you're informed than us or maybe just my class.
Yes, so my question to you guys would be how you feel about Germany, since I know Germany did not do nice things in the colonization.
What aftermath can you feel in your country? Perhaps maybe your family, your grandparents, your grand-grandparents. Are there any stories?
So the first question was, how much do you learn about history in your classes? Who wanna go first?
In class, we touch on it, but it's very basic knowledge that we learn about it. When we do learn it, it's not very representative of the whole globe, and it doesn't really talk about how other countries, especially countries in Africa, have undergone it or how the experiences were altered for everyone.
What do you think should be maybe added so that you can have like the rich knowledge about it?
When we talk about colonialism, they should not just focus on the UK, and they should focus on other countries like Germany. But then when we're talking about Germany, we should talk about more in detail of everyday experiences of people in Africa and how everyone is affected by it, because right now it's still very vague.
Mm-hmm. Including more countries. Who else?
Our previous history teacher went out of his way to actually teach us about colonialism, about the German colonialism, and that was actually the only way that I learned about it. And the two most significant things that we learned was in year 6 when we went to the Bagamoyo slave trade place, and in year 8 when we went to Kilwa Kisiwani, where it was mostly the Arabic slave trading.
What was your feeling after hearing that?
I was actually quite shocked because I had no clue about that before. I thought Tanzania was just like completely independent, or I thought it was just, before that it was just like a whole African tribe united. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Is there anybody want to go for the first question?
Actually, in class, we went details in our class. Our teacher went deep in detail, like we learned on the textbook, like what the syllabus is talking about colonialism, but we also went out of the textbook, like what are the students' opinion? How do you see the matter of colonialism? How do you take it as personal? Like, do you see there is any current relationship between those years of colonialism and these years, our current life without colonialism?
So the second question was about how do you guys feel about Germans, because the students feel like Germans didn't do anything good for you. Who wanna go for it?
Personally, I feel like they did both good and bad. Like for the beginning, for good, they built infrastructure. We have railways from Dodoma to Kigoma to Tabora, and also from Dodoma to Dar es Salaam, Tanga and Arusha. So like those infrastructures they built, they were really strong, and till today they're used. But on the bad side, they were harsh. So they killed a lot of people, and like they fought in like rebellions, like Maji Rebellion and like Abu Shiri. So like people shed blood. So it was very harsh.
They were harsh.
Although Germany did a lot of bad stuff, I quite enjoy the country. I think they're very, very interesting country, and I think they still have a big impact on Tanzania right now.
Thank you so much, Harry. Is there anybody want to answer the second question? Yeah?
For me, it was a bit challenging learning about colonialism because I'm from both backgrounds, German and African. It was also hard to put a personal identity within trying to weigh up which culture is better and not fitting into one. Personally, yeah, it had its pros, but it also had its cons, where there's a lot of exploitation of natural resources. There's a lot of exploitation with what was taken, how many lives were lost, and it's hard to believe that your own people could do that to your other culture.
So you have kind of mixed feelings. Okay, I see the hand here.
When you read about this, it's all hate on Germany, how dare you do this to my people and all this stuff. I'm not really educated in this, so I was very mixed feelings. But then being with them and then explaining to me about all this stuff, it's they're trying to change.
And the last question was, what is aftermath? Who wanna go about it? Yeah.
Actually, right now I can also think about the psychological effect, because they brainwashed us, and most of the people right now, they can even think of the races, and they bring about thinking that the black races is not more strong as the white races. But at the same time, after learning this of colonialism, I came to understand oh, our black races is also strong, and we did our best we could.
Thank you, Esther. Now let's hear from the historical experts. Remy, you have both experience in Tanzania and Germany. You have heard all the three questions and also the response from the students. What's your take?
A lot of our history was erased. So a lot of us, it feels very difficult to step into, I want to say, the proud Africans we are, and step into the story. And we resisted, or like Halima said, there were so many of us doing the work to resist. And at the same time, with an extreme gap of knowledge, right? There's a knowledge gap, things we just don't know because they weren't written or they were taken to Germany. Skulls and other informations, diaries. We don't have so much of that in Tanzania. And with that, but also the implementation, what you said about the infrastructure was built and is still being built up. Germany has a lot of foreign companies who still operate here in Tanzania and who benefit from right, the natural resources, as Iris said. So I think there's still a discrepancy and a gap of who benefits from different things, which we call post-colonial effects, after colonialism, what happens. But then there's also the emotional effect of what happened to my ancestry, where are the remains of our grandparents, and how can I step into myself and claim and research and find a way of healing, because you guys also said it's really important to reconcile and we want to go into a future. So there's a lot of aftermath we've got to work on, but I'm super positive with this engaged youth in Germany and Tanzania that we can make great steps forward.
Just last year, the president of Germany came here and apologized. Is it enough?
I would not say it's enough, me personally, because what do the descendants of the different tribes, he went to Songea, he talked with Chief Zulu, but what's going to happen? Are they going to rebuild knowledge system? Are going to rebuild schools? Are we going to give them certain percentages of companies? So there's still a lot to do. And at the same time, the thing of enough, it's also the time being acknowledged. Right, so it took so much, and I also loved what the students said. It wasn't only Tanzania being colonized. If Germany denied for so long the Harare-Anama War, so there's still so much to work on, but it's a step forward, so I wouldn't say it's not a good thing.
Thank you, Remy. I would love now to go to Halima. Halima, you have a strong focus on women, but we really don't hear many stories about women in the fight against colonialism. Why is that?
The people who are loudest the most are mostly men, so they don't talk much about women. They talk much about themselves. And also, when men tell the stories of women, they don't tell it from the intelligent point of view. They mostly tell it from those women's relations with men. So take an example of Cleopatra, for example. She was a brilliant, but we know how we remember her today. Take an example from the biblical stories, Queen of Sheba versus Solomon. So most of the time when women do great things and then you leave men to tell the stories, they tell it from, they attach that story from men, then they tell from that focus. They don't focus on the intelligent part of that woman.
Thank you so much, Halima. You have mentioned several women that have been at least get spotlight in different documentation. But here in Tanzania, we have Liti Kidanka, who also at least her history has been heard and told to different generations. And we have the video about her. So let's watch it and then we will keep on with our discussion.
Liti Gidanga was a spiritual leader from the Nyaturu people in Singida, north-central Tanzania. She was born in the 1860s to a family of traditional healers. It is said that she could predict the future. German forces came into her region in 1901 as they tried to expand authority over their colonial claims. Liti called on her people to resist German colonial rule. When the Germans got wind of the resistance, they hunted her down. Liti Gidanga is said to have used bees to protect her people and counter the Germans' advanced weapons, hence her name Queen of the Bees. According to oral tradition, Liti Gidanga could summon bees to distract German forces, after which local fighters would attack. In local folklore and songs, Liti Gidanga's power over the bees was ruined by an informant, her best friend, in an act of betrayal. Liti Gidanga was captured by German authorities with help from rival collaborators. She was beheaded and her skull allegedly taken to Germany. Today, she is still remembered in Tanzanian folklore as a courageous fighter and a fearless woman.
Now, I would love to hear your opinion and your thoughts about it. How do you guys feel about the video? Who wanna start?
Actually, after watching the videos, I was super excited because after seeing, first it was a woman, because we don't actually hear more about women, but in that video, it gave me a sense like also women were involved in fighting for independence during the time of colonialism. But also it brought me to an opposite question, like instead of only looking about only superpowers he used, like I started thinking about the abilities that were inside of her. Like she was confident, she had leadership skills, and like she was more overseeing like what's going to be the impact of these people coming to us.
So Esther is saying she was inspired and motivated, yeah?
I feel like it's a repeated history because a lot of chiefs also happen to have the same kind of path, like they were resisting or something like that and they were hiding and their friends would betray them because of bribery and stuff like that. And I just feel like at some point it's a reason as to why independence was a bit late, because like if those people would have actually supported their chiefs and their friends, they would have actually gone far enough to have independence earlier.
Anybody else? Yeah.
I feel like sometimes like they're talking about how she could control like bees to like attack like the forces and stuff. I feel like honestly, if I do not go more on my facts about it, like when I started like looking at the video, I would have thought like it was like kind of like weird, like witchery or stuff. But then when you realize, oh, this is also how other people preserve, like see our culture and stuff like that. Like it's like some type of like witchery. It's not actually like something like they don't take into consideration that we actually believe in this and we're proud of this culture and stuff. So you can see that our culture can be perceived as something that's like not real and made up.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. I see someone here. Do you want to say something?
Okay, so about the history of like women, I feel like it's really inspiring that to learn about the women who tried to contribute for like fighting for independence during like colonial rule, because we don't learn that much in school, so the video taught us a lot. And because most of history is male biased, right? So like it's tried to shape like a different side of the story, which is sometimes hidden in many parts of like African and also world history. So I think it's really essential.
Thank you very much. What do you think should be done to make sure that these students are equipped, not only the students, but I think the young generation are equipped with much knowledge on where we came from?
There's a lot to do. I think when we talk about education starting at school, it's necessary to look at the school curriculums and the pedagogical methods approaching topics like colonialism or different forms of oppression, independence. And currently, not only in Tanzania but also in Germany, colonialism is not a main factor. So in Tanzania, whether it's private schools or government schools, we often learn from the British era, and then even our curriculum after independence is mostly British focused. So there's a lot of need to involve historians and other pedagogical forms to co-write pedagogical books. But not only to say in Tanzania, I know for a fact in Germany, there are a lot of activists still fighting to, put more light on colonial topics within school, because obviously there's lots of history and we only focus on little, but also involving these topics in family, like you were saying, Esther, like talking about personal traditions. And even today, like there's still so much we can do, medicine work, right? You say superpower. So talking about our own superpower within educational and institutional forms is very important.
Remy, do you think this history shapes the today's world or future in any way?
Everything shapes everything which comes, right? But yes, of course it shapes. We were talking about racism, the fact how we think about ourselves and about how others think of us. So, which also means there's a big chance to keep shaping, right? To empower young humans to learn more, to use the internet, to use comics, to learn more about these topics.
Thank you, Remy. Now yes, Esther, you want to say something?
I have also something to add up there. I think it's time to call on the recognition of women, like what women actually did during colonialism. You know, though they didn't, maybe in some areas they didn't stand in the front line like fighting for independence like maybe other men did. They even gathered small women groups and motivating them and giving the motivation and supporting to the men. And also, for example, Bibi Titi Muhammad was among the women, and Salma Karume was also among the women that should be recognized. And also, I think we should recognize the effect that they faced. Women were raped, and not only raped, they were also being sent away from their families and doing other farm works. So I think women also play a great role in colonialism.
Thank you, Esther. I think you are making a very great point. Halima, currently we have a lot of women, I think, compared to the past in political, in different leadership position and decision making. What do you think should be done to make sure that these women are really well documented and maybe their stories will be told even to the next generations?
First, I wish more women would write about women. Second, I really wish people would treat women as human beings and not as a woman, as a different category of human beings, and attach human characters in women.
Thank you so much, Halima. More women should write about women. So as we are wrapping it up, we have discussed a lot of issues. I would love also to ask you again if you have anything to share, any experience, any solution.
I believe that having different stories that are not just focused from the West and also are told from an African viewpoint is very important, which we can see throughout colonization is lacking, whereby most of the evidence is recorded by the Western world and isn't very accurate.
Thank you so much. Anybody else?
Colonialism didn't just affect men, affected women and several children as well. And these stories are not being shared out. No one is taking into consideration the vulnerability and oppressions they have faced in their life. And I think a lot more light needs to be shined onto that.
Thank you so much.
I think Tanzanians as general, we should stop having this delusion that we have to that's abstracting our culture, because a lot of us generally young people, I don't know if myself, a lot of my culture wasn't explained to me or told to me, because I needed to learn like languages like English so I can be able to survive in society today, and like learn all these new like subjects and stuff like that, because you need to know English, but generally Swahilis are important. Like language for us is what builds and preserves our culture, and a lot of it's being taken away and we keep forgetting about it. So we need to go back to once we were, but keep changing, you know?
Thank you so much. Getting back to you, Esther, again.
My last call is that recognition, like we can do better, and like not only relying that the other race can do better than us, but also recognizing like they're a bit, they are more good in ourselves that we haven't yet given out, and like we can encounter the effects that they were caused on colonialism, and not only relying on complaining, but also finding the ways to work, to encounter them, like how can we figure them out, and yeah, more things like that.
Thank you so much, and thank you all of you for sharing your experience, your opinion, and your views. We are ending up this debate here in Dar es Salaam, but this is going on in our social media platforms. Kindly put on your comments, your experience, your opinion. We would really love to see that in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching, and I am Iman Henrik from Dar es Salaam.